was kind of hoping that in the future my children would take up farming. I'm not going to force it upon them, but I would definitely like to leave a farm to either a child or another interested person that I've worked closely with and kind of taught how to farm. And hopefully in 100 years, Little Acres Farm is somewhere. You know.
And you never know who might want to come back when they're 35 and decide they want to be on a farm. It's impossible to tell.
The economics of labor force as the kids move away, like Aaron, the oldest one, he has chosen to move away at the present time, works at Hannaford's and developing his career.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the traditional Vermont dairy farm is shrinking. When we moved here in 1997, there were over 2,000 dairy farms. I think they're just over, or under 1,000, I believe, right now. Those farms are becoming much bigger, but there are much fewer of them.
It can become a smaller farm. It probably won't become a bigger farm because there's just too much competition around you to compete.
I think it's really hard for them to find a foothold, especially now that there are farms that are much larger coming on the scene. They tend to have the capital to outbid you to lease land, and they buy up some farms that are going out of business and incorporate them into their large operation.
But whatever if you were to build a new barn, it would cost you $1 million
Oh, yeah.
or more.
Yeah.
And that is double what the farm is worth. Well, in my opinion, you'd be pretty foolish to do it.
I think Vermont is like an epicenter for new innovative farmers doing different things, and it's become quite a force in the food industry in a lot of different ways. If you just look at sort of cheese and vineyards and, you know, specialty meats, and so absolutely I think so.
Vermont is attractive to new farmers. I don't know how many actually come or how many actually stay, but I think definitely people recognize Vermont as a place for young upstart farmers, and they look into it and they're curious about it.
You have a different style of farms coming into play, which can be the same scenario there. I can turn into a vegetable farm. Got a cousin's farm that was sold. It's a vegetable farm now, so you do have different farms coming in a whole different way.
At the same time, farms like us, smaller farms, under, I think I read the statistic, under 100 acres or even 50 acres is growing, you know, rapidly. It still makes up a relatively small portion of the overall farm income for the state, but it's growing and it's vibrant.
People who didn't grow up on a farm have no idea how much work goes into it.
No, they have no idea.
The profit margins aren't high. You have to come in with a lot of starting capital, like Jacob's talking about. Land is not easy to come by necessarily.
We have a pretty sustainable lifestyle. I mean, we're doing stuff we like, and we're not killing ourselves. However, when we first started, we killed ourselves.
A lot of people, I do think, come and don't really realize how much work goes into it. I've worked for a farmer who grew up on Long Island and thought he would just move up to Vermont and start himself a farm, and he really didn't realize how much time and effort it took and how much you really have to work on a piece of land to make it as profitable as it can be.
I think there are a lot of young people who seem to be willing to make those sacrifices and have often done other things and realize that this is really a calling for them.
I think that there's been a trend recently where old farmers have gone out of business, and as Jacob was saying, their farms get bought up by larger farms, and that's kind of cut off this generational, like passing on the farm to your children.
I think that the expectation that the younger generation, that someone from the younger generation will take on the family farm is much less.
You still got your programs in your schools. Enosburg's got a big agricultural program, and I think it's still encouraged in the rural areas.
I don't think that new farmers coming into Vermont with this idea of small-scale agriculture is going to get in the way of passing down farms generationally. I think that if anything, it's going to encourage that to start again, as new people who are coming in with different perspectives on the land and are bringing that kind of passion for food production in a responsible way back to Vermont. I think that that's the kind of energy that we need to continue to pass things on to the next generation. So I don't think it's going to be the end of the family farm. I think it's going to be the revitalization of it.
We never worked at a dairy farm, a goat dairy, or made cheese. That might have been a good idea. But I'm not totally sure. I think there's a lot of value in just going for it too, and learning as you go and trying to gather as much information.
I think if you do farming the right way, then I don't know how it can not be appealing. So
No regrets.